here we are, the boys finishing off their sight lap. There's the mechanics there, patting down the line, getting it ready. The start is very important. So these guys, and as I was explaining earlier with Kurt Gibbs and a relationship, he's had the same mechanic now for 3 years. 2 years is his third year. So the mechanic knows exactly what he wants for his gate. So that's what I think, and the start is very, very important.
It brings a whole lot more, knowing the mechanic, being in that team for a few years, having the different position. It definitely makes it a lot easier, especially when you got some of these young guys. They're stepping up a class. Not only are they not riding for the same team, they're riding a completely different bike. You almost double the power that you're looking at starting. Completely different. It's a complete new ball game on a 450.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's where I think Kirk can feel a lot more comfortable. And if you think of it as in the mechanic, your life is in his hands. These things are very, very these bikes are very powerful, and yeah, it's very important to have a good relationship with your mechanic.
It really is. Now we're going to take a look at the heavy hitters in this class. We've got Matt Moss, defending 2013, 2014 motocross and supercross champion. If you're going to stop Mossy, this is going to have to be the year to do it. There's a lot of guys that are saying this is their year, they have to win. Kurt Gibbs is one of them. Adam Monya. The list really does go on. Now, you can go ahead and throw a blanket over a list of guys that can win races. One guy I want to touch on who made the GoPro Super Bowl and made a pretty dramatic return to racing this year after being away for a few years, the 122 with Dan Reardon, ex-national champion, been away from the sport for a few years. But if Dan's happy with the team, he's got the passion back for racing, he's been saying in his media posts and all his interviews with everybody, he could be a guy to do damage.
Well, there is not a person in the pits that can knock the CDR Yamaha team. Craig Dack and the entire crew have absolutely got it to a T. I would say the most championships of any team in the pits. And Dan Reardon, unfortunately, as we spoke about Jacob Wright going out for injury, Dan Reardon lucky enough to pick up that ride. It'll be very interesting to see how he goes, making that GoPro Super Bowl in his first ever moto. As we wait for the start.
Here we go.
5-second board. The guys are ready to go.
Monster Energy MX1, first moto of the year. The gate is down. Who's going to get the all-important hole shot? Looks like a massive jump for the number 70 of Lawson Bopping.
Matt Moss buried deep inside the pack. He looks like he's outside of the top 5. Luke Stykes.
It's a guy we didn't even mention just a minute ago, returning from Europe, 2013 MX2 champion. But that is Reardon, the 122. With a point to prove, blowing around Luke Stike.
What a way to come back to racing, huh?
As he's been saying in his posts, the old guy is back and he's got a point to prove. And Reardon looks just as good as he did when he stepped away from the sport a few years ago. But you know what? Luke Stike's been racing in Europe. His pie puts Reardon off the track. Now, that to me was a what up? I've got something to prove here.
Exactly, yeah, he stepped up. There we go, like as Dan says, the old guy and the young guy. This is his first Australian Open race, first Sykesy. And there he is, Gibbsy. He missed a consistent there. He got a good start. Good to see the two KTMs up front.
Gibbs, a guy definitely consistent. His fitness is next to none. I would say he's probably the fittest guy on the track currently. 30-minute motos, he's definitely my pick for the championship. Such a diesel engine. We see him to the later stages of the motos. Not normally known for his starts, but such a strong pusher, and we see him up front already battling for the lead.
Yeah, Gibbsy is known as Mr. Consistency, almost a little bit too consistent for some people's likings in regards to not taking enough chances. But right now, he's going to ride around the outside of his teammate Lou Stike. Stike looking good on his first outing here for the factory KTM outfit in Australia after returning from Europe. Gibbsy goes around the outside. He gets it done. Whoa, and he's the first guy I've seen almost get the double off them step downs.
Yeah,
so,
completely railed the outside, carries so much momentum. That's what you got to do to make a pass in this class, though. It's so competitive at the front end of the field that you need to almost be hanging out at 120% to even think about that pass.
Yeah, and as also we explained earlier with Jay Wilson in the lights class, these two guys here have raced all season, so they're race ready. Everyone can practice like we was explaining earlier, but these guys have been racing all season and they're ready to go.
It'll be interesting to see if Matt Moss can come through the field. We spoke about, his consistency. He is absolutely, well, just consistent, really. He's an absolute bulldog. He keeps on going and going and going. However, in qualifying today, Joe, we saw him in sixth position, a second behind the pace.
And that is something we're not used to seeing. Matt Moss, one of only 2 riders last year to make 10 out of 10 GoPro Super Poles, had the most Super Pole victories last year.
Didn't make first round,
but he is coming off of a shoulder injury from the AMA Supercross Series in America. And I talked to Mossy yesterday. It's pretty common that most of these motocross guys are not too fond of talking to the media about their injuries, and he assured me he was ready to go. So I guess we're going to see where he's at. Let's have the first lap rundown. 2 minute 41 seconds into this moto. Kurt Gibbs out front, followed by Luke Stike, Daniel Reardon, Fort Dale, Adam Monya, Lawson bopping Dylan Long in the number 7 ride, followed by Kale Makem, Cade Mosick, and Cody Cooper rounding out the top 10. Then we've got Aaron Tanney, Daniel McCoy, Daniel McEntee, Isaac Moll, Darcy Jones, Nick Murray, Daniel Banks, Jesse Dobson, Matt Moss, and Shane Boyd, 19 and 20.
So Matt Moss has gone down. Unfortunate for Mossy there. We saw him up in about a top 7, top 8 position, which is definitely a position we've known Mossy to come straight through to the front and take it, but must have had a mistake. Hopefully him and Boyd haven't gone down too badly and he can still mount a charge.
Hope so. Definitely got to make a mention there to Shane Boyd making a return to racing on the DPH Motorsports Peter Stevens Yamaha team. As we see another return to racing there for Ford Dale on the Penrite Honda Oils machine. Now Ford Dale, someone we didn't see at all pretty much last year, smashed his hand in pre-season for the KDM team and then smashed his face, or it might be the other way around, I can't remember exactly, but Dale, rider that took the 2012 MX2 championship and since then has been plagued with injuries, so it's awesome to see him back on the Penrite Oil Honda racing team.
Yeah, no, Ford, like, as we seen earlier, he's the fastest qualifier. He qualified, he won the Super Pole. So he's had a long stretch of injuries, and it's great to see him back. He's a good kid, Queenslander. His whole career has been super fast. He's just struggled a little bit with consistency and making silly mistakes. So let's hope he's learned by that. And as you can see, he's up there, 3rd place. Luke Stike 2nd, Kirk Gibbs 1st.
Got some riders here with a lot to prove. Luke Stike coming back from Europe, 2013 MX2 champion here at the MX Nationals in Australia. Goes to Europe. Horrible season, injuries, didn't get on with the team, nothing was what he wanted. Comes back, ends up inking a deal with the MotoX KDM factory outfit for the 450 class here at the MX Nationals. And Stike, not really an underspoken guy. He has a lot to prove, and I think he deserves to be up front is what he believes in. Now, we just saw Dylan Long come into frame, the Victorian privateer.
Yeah, Longy.
Longy, doing good things. Daniel Riddham must have gone down out of frame. Ridden now in the number 14 ride. So, like it was in the MX2 class, a lot of crazy things happening here in the opening laps.
Dylan Long, 4th position. It's just fantastic to see Longy. I would say the most picturesque, talented rider out on the field, can definitely throw a bike sideways like nobody else can.
Longy
but he's coming in
inside.
showing the pace. Like, privateer rider, he's picked up a little bit of support.
Pretty
Dylan
much
Long
doing it on his own with help from Tattoo Racing. Now, any of you social media fans of the sport will know Longy can whip a bike inside out, upside down, both ways, back to front. He is a fan favourite and a rider that has a lot to prove, not out of talent, just out of the industry. And I think he gets a bit of a hard run in terms of people seeing him having a lot of fun on social media, doing whips and not being Mr. Training Hard, saying the right things. Hence the sort of Tattoo Racing privateer ride that some of the only people to come in and step up to support him this year. But another guy returning to full-time racing this year behind Longy, the number 70 of Lawson Bopping. Boppo back after a couple years on and off, actually took the start of 2014 to go do the AMA Supercross Series. So Boppo, another guy I know, is very happy to be back happy on the Yamaha racing this year. And let's just go ahead and say this top 10 in this class is stacked.
Yeah, the top 10, like we were saying earlier, is this class is amazing, you know. Like we said, you can see there, Lawson bopping, he's coming up. Cade Mosick's there. Cooper, who just recently won the New Zealand Championship, he's right up there as well. Yeah, this class is stacked this year. It's going to be an awesome season.
Cody Cooper, a guy that we all know on his day, not many people can touch him.
Very
He
fast.
just needs to figure out a way to bring that championship form over from New Zealand to the MX National Series here in Australia. Now, Cooper, a guy last year, had terrible luck. Actually fracturing his eye socket at the first round at Broadford in 2014. A few rounds later, comes back to action at Murray Bridge, blows his knee out, ACL done in the first corner crash. So, pretty rough run for Cooper last year in MX Nationals. Guy who picking up pretty much where he left off last year, the number 5 of Kirk Gibbs, out front. 7 minutes into the second moto. Gibbsy started out with a 3rd last year at the opening round at Broadford with a few moto wins. So Gibbsy's been in championship form for a few years now, and it's definitely time to see him step up and really, you know, like many people said, he needs to win this year. Yeah,
so a bit of inside information too. I spent a little bit of time with Kirk, and he lives up Queensland. I spent pretty much the last 3 days with him before he came. He actually hasn't been on the bike for like nearly 2 weeks. He's been probably about a week. He's actually been really sick. He's been pretty much bedridden. So all he did was a couple of starts on Friday, and that's the first time he'd ridden since he raced last in New Zealand. So it's great to see him up here, and he's looking good, full of energy. Let's hope he can put it in for 30.
Brendan, you'd probably be the best to ask. Having 2 weeks off, though it's obviously a dampener on you, you championship hopes and you've put in so much effort to get prepared for the championship, so much training goes into it, can it be a good thing to, have a little bit of time off the bike, get that desire back?
Yeah, it can definitely be a good thing. You get the spark back, and these guys, and I definitely know Kirk, they put in so much hard work in the preseason. So the 2 weeks before, it's just going to recharge his batteries, and that's what I'm saying. He's not a veteran, but they're Lawson Bopping nearly going down. He's not silly. He could have ridden and run himself into the ground, but he's ready to go.
After coming off that New Zealand preseason as well, he's done enough riding. These guys don't forget how to ride in a couple of weeks. So we're going to go ahead right now and talk about the 117 ride of Dylan Long. Moving
Fastest
into third
guy
place.
on track.
Fastest guy on the track. A few weeks ago at the Victorian Motocross Championships, the state round at Broadford, the track was very similar. Hard pack underneath, Ruddy on top. Longy absolutely destroyed the competition. And, I had a few people ask me how long he was going to go. I said he's going to go fast this year. I didn't expect to see him on the podium. We are only 10 minutes in. A long ways to go, but you know what? I'm super impressed with Dylan Long right now.
Yeah, big fan of Dylan Long, always have been. It was always going to be interesting, such a talented rider in the 250, could never really get to that, that top sort of mark. It was a big question mark over his head. Could he ride a 450? Could he make a statement? I saw him at the Victorian titles last year, ride a 450. Rode it well, consistent. However, Joe, I'm in the same boat as you are. I expected Dylan to be around that top 8 sort of position. Here he is in third position, making solid moves and actually reeling in Luke Stike, the fastest guy on circuit.
It really is for that lap, Stikey with the fastest time. Now we're going to take a look at that big number 8 of Cade Mosick, who's just moved in to the number 6 position behind Ford Dale. Now Mosick, a guy I've picked to win races this year, a guy I've picked to be a championship contender. I've seen him in Victoria all pre-season, actually lives just up the road from me. And Mosick is moving. He's happy on that Yamaha second year on the bike, moving from the DPH team over to the CDR factory outfit, riding under Craig Dack for this year. As Boppo's taken another run back at Longy and just rides right around the outside of him. Mosick's going to be strong this year, guys, and I have a feeling that he's going to get momentum moving throughout the day. Going to be interesting to see what he can do from that average start as he's moved around Cody Cooper.
As Dylan Long goes to put the pass back up the inside, Lawson Bopping. Look at that scrub. Can you go wrong with a Dylan Long scrub?
You cannot. Longy can scrub all day long with the best of them. As you see Kurt Gibbs coming over, looking very easy out front. I think that was actually Luke Stike. Sorry there, guys. Kind of hard to see with the team outfits, same gear, same bike, almost same numbers. Boppo.
Boppo off the track.
Very creative on the inside Luke outline there.
I would not be pulling tear-offs coming into a bumpy corner, but you got to do what you got to do. That was a pretty gutsy move there for Lawson Bopping on the number 70 ride. Boppo, a rider, like I said, coming back into the series full-time this year, has a lot to prove. Very calm demeanour, very easy-going. So much natural talent and skill on a bike, moving around the 117 of Dylan Long back in a number 3 ride. So be interesting to see what Boppo can achieve this year.
Definitely a talented guy. Brendan, we went around the pits yesterday asking who has, the most freakish ability on a motorcycle. Tell me about Lawson Bopping's jumping ability.
Oh, I've raced him, from my whole career as a junior. We're the same age, and he was always the guy that if there was something to be jumped, he would be the first one to do it, and he would make it happen. And that's like you said, we did a few interviews today, and his name definitely popped up more times than one. So yeah, he's a good, really nice kid, genuine guy, and not afraid to be creative on the track.
As you see, Big Trev Mosick there off the side of the track.
Oh. Bit of a hucklebuck.
Throwing the windmills, cheering on his son, Cade Mosick. Boppo getting a little bit out of shape there. This track, only 2 30-minute motos today, or only 2 30-minute motos for the Monster Energy MX1 class. I think the second moto is going to be quite challenging out here for these guys.
Also interesting to see, we've got the 2 Motor X KTM guys out front. However, then we've got 3 Yamahas followed behind them. All completely different Yamaha teams. We've got Lawson Bopping. He stepped onto the DPH team this year. Dylan Long, he's riding for Tattoo Racing. We go back then to Cade Mosick, who's a factory CDA. The factory Yamaha team is really getting a show up from these younger guys right now.
Yeah, they all have close to equal support. Obviously, CDI is more tied in with Europe and Japan in terms of the bike technology and what they can do as a factory outfit. But these privateer teams like DPH, like Tattoo Racing, these guys spend a lot of money to go racing. They invest. And they are not interested in not finishing on the podium. They spend money to win. They spend money to go racing. And these guys are not going to give it to Cade Mosick just for the fact that he's on the factory ride.
Yeah, that's it.
Looking back out front, the number 5 machine there of Kurt Gibbs. 12 minutes And 50 seconds into this moto, as we see one of the Victorian privateers gone down there. That's the number 41 ride. Gibbsy looking solid and picking up pretty much right where he left off. Interesting fact for Kirk Gibbs, average round finish last year. The average round finish last year for Kirk Gibbs was a 2.4. Second position was his average, Aiden.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong. His consistency has always been there. He's always been definitely one of the top contenders. You know, we always look for him there. Moto 1, though, coming out, making a statement. Luke Steig, he was a guy we didn't speak too much about before the Moto. You know, he's come back from Europe. He showed a whole lot of pace, winning that MX2 class just before he went over to Europe. Stepped up onto the 450 with the Motor X Ride, and look at him handle it.
Steig's definitely showing no signs of being overawed by being in the MX1 class and being on that bigger bike. He's a guy with plenty of confidence and lots to prove. As we take a look at the running order here, 14 minutes in, Kirk Gibbs out front, Luke Steig second, Lawson Bopping third, Cade Mosig moved into the number 4 ride around around Dylan Long. Live timing's changing every second here as the riders come through, so we're going to start that again. Kirk Gibbs out front, Luke Steig, Lawson Bopping, Cade Mosig, Fordale, Cody Cooper, Dylan Long.
Maybe an incident from Dylan Long, dropping back 3 positions.
Adam Monya, Dan Reardon on a charge, already back into the top 10. The number 9 ride, then Daniel McCoy at number 10. So that rounds out your top 10, and see the guys coming through here over the KTM step down.
And what a stacked top 10 it is, Joe. Like, it's true testament to the MX Nationals in the entire series. It gets stronger and better every single year, and I think this is the most depth we have ever seen in the MX1 field.
You know what? Longy and Mosig are not done.
Long
Something's
goes back up
obviously
the
happened
inside.
after live timing, because Longy's back up the inside of Cade Mosig making moves, as we see the 117 of Long and the number 8 of Cade Mosig. They're going at it over the back section as they go on the sweep right and the sweep left before they go over the tabletop. And in the drag race at the back section, it is Cade Mosig and Dylan Long. Mosig's coming up the inside. We've got the privateer Yamaha versus the factory Yamaha. You know Mosig's not going to want to get beat by the young guy on the privateer ride.
So interesting to see. You know, Dylan Long comes back, makes the pass on Mosig, however, drops a second and a half at least in that corner, Joe.
Yeah, slight mistake there from Longy. Mosig's looking strong. He's looking ahead. He's got a lot of ground to make up to catch Boppo. But we're only 15 minutes in. This is the halfway plus 1 lap mark. So plenty of time for Mosig to do some damage, do some catching in this moto. Bopping's just coming out of the hill there. So we're going to follow Mosig up this back section. Got the ski jump. He's going to shift some gears and hit the uphill triple. As we see one of the privateer riders, the back marker, not jumping. And there's Longy. And then there is Fordale. So Fordale's getting ready to put some pressure on. I think Longy might have got a bit excited here in the opening few laps and ran up front. And now the reality of this 30-minute moto might be setting in, might be getting a bit of arm pump. It's hard to tell from in here in the commentary booth, but it's real easy like we saw for Dylan Wills in Moto 1 of the MX2 class. Whole shot, pressure's on, gets excited, and then before you know it, holding breath, and you know you end up getting a bit tired, a bit flustered, some arm pump, tensing up. So it's very important to maintain energy for the entire 30-minute moto.
Not only that, Joe, but the cameras really do no justice. This track is really chopping up. There's a lot of big bumps coming into the corners, and these ruts are some of the deepest I've seen in a long, long time. Yeah,
I think we've got to go back to Gladstone of last year. That was probably one of the ruttiest tracks I've probably ever seen in my life. Brendan, you raced that round, yes?
No, I didn't race that round. Yeah, I did hear about it, and yeah.
Yeah, I took some Instagram shots and posted some pictures of me standing in the ruts, and they were, you know, I'm a 6-foot guy, and they were up to nearly my hips. So
takes you back to Toowoomba days.
Yeah, it's a Toowoomba circuit
this year too.
Yeah, very exciting to go back to Toowoomba this year. Always one of the hardest, most technical circuits to ride. A lot of hills, a lot of guys struggle with arm pump there. However, the deepest ruts I have ever seen.
Yeah, this hard pack sort of clay surface. They rip it, they prep it amazing here at Horsham and facilities like Toowoomba. But once these ruts form, boy, do they get deep. As we see the number 10 ride of Cody Cooper coming into frame now, battling with the 117 of Long. So Cooper, reigning 2014 and 2015 New Zealand MX1 champion. The MX National Series is something he has yet to win. Won many races on many teams, but the championship still eludes him. I know after his season last year, he's out for redemption. Another rider, as we see Matt Moss finally coming into frame there with Shane Boyd right behind him. So these guys have been glued to each other for the entire
12th and 13th.
Yeah, coming from 19th and 20th down to 12th and 13th. So Shane Boyd is obviously just throwing some hooks into the back of that number one and saying, all right, buddy, if you're coming through, I'm going to throw some throw a tow rope behind you, and we're going to do some work here in this first moto and see how far we can get up. I don't think Shane Boyd or Matt Moss would be happy with anything less than at least the top 10 in this first ride.
Something really exciting to talk about. Kirk Gibbs, on screen currently, out front. He's 3 seconds a lap quicker than anybody on field right now, and he's out front. Clear track, no reason to push. However, as we talked about, the diesel engine, he's gone.
Yeah, he looks comfortable, and like I was being explaining earlier, he's been on this team for a while. He's in his element right now. He's just this best practice for him. He's just clicking laps away and just doing what he does.
Now, I don't want to go ahead and make the cliched comparison that I'm sure we're all thinking of. The diesel motor, the big number 5, KTM, it's kind of like turned into the Ryan Dungey of Australian motocross, and he's just so solid on the bike. You don't really see Gibbsy scrubbing, panic revving, doing anything crazy like the younger guys do. Not that he's particularly old, but he is somewhat a veteran in this class now. But he's just so effortless and just picture perfect on that 450 machine. A lot of people picked him to win this championship this year. It is a must-win for him, and going off this first moto, it's very easy to get carried away, but he's definitely looking good. Gibbsy, 4 moto wins in the 2014 season, 5 second-place finishes and 8 third-place finishes.
Wow.
That is a picture of consistency. His worst moto score for the 2014 season was 6th place, and his average finish off the podium was a 4.75, or essentially a 4th to 5th position. So, worst moto score was a 6th, guys.
That's what it takes to win a championship. Matt Moss may have his work cut out. Obviously not the motor that he's looking for. We know he's got the pace and can definitely run with Kirk up the front. However, can Gibbsy maybe be challenged this year? Could he put it to Matt Moss? There's a lot of consistency comes down to these 30-minute motos. It's a 10-round championship, Joe. We have 20 motos, all very, very long motos. If you can't put it together week in, week out, it's going to make it very hard. And Kirk Gibbs, as you said, he averages a 4th. That can win you a title alone without a moto win.
It sure can. Now, looking at these stats is going to change a lot for the 2015 season because we're going back to the traditional format, 2 30-minute motos. Last year we had rounds with 2 motos, we had rounds with 3 motos. Now it's getting to the point where only 2 motos per round, okay? So that's, as you said, 20 motos for the season. There's only 2 times per round you're up for points, obviously excluding the GoPro Super Pole. Now,
Matt Moss currently outside the top 10. He'll be looking to go down already 10 to 12 points on Kirk Gibbs just in this first moto. We still have 10 minutes left in this race, however, so Mossy will definitely be working hard to get back to the front, but
sure will.
With so fewer races.
Finishing up that point, fewer races, fewer chances to score points. If you drop a moto, if you DNF, not going to help your championship at all. So these guys have got to finish every moto. They've got to be in it to win it.
The current series leader, however, Fordale, 4th place. He did get that GoPro Super Pole, which allows 5 points, to the championship. That's a massive help. So consistent last year was Matt Moss. We saw him make it to every single GoPro Super Pole and take out a good majority of them. How are those points going to affect him this year?
Well, losing points in the Super Pole, that was a lot of the reason that Moss actually managed to win the title over Kirk Gibbs. Other than a few extra moto wins, they were almost identical on points. If it wasn't for a bad round at Raymond Terrace from Kirk Gibbs and Mossy winning, Matt Moss had 3 Super Pole wins. That's 15 extra points. Plus a bad round from Gibbs.
Half a moto.
That's half a moto. That gave him the championship. So it's not the only reason he won, but for the most part, it was a big help. So for Fordale starting out, and let's talk about Fordale right now because, coming back from being completely out of the series in 2014, comes back, has a point to prove. Everyone knows that Fordale is one of the fastest riders in any class on any day. However, consistency's been a bit of a problem for him with injuries. So Fordale just had his 2nd child at home with the family life, and he's back racing here in 2015. Bit more of a responsibility, I would say, to provide for the family almost, and it's kind of reflected in his riding right now. Riding inside the top 10, solid, not doing anything crazy, taking some points, and I think Fordale's a guy we're going to see, if he can stay healthy this year, really push forward, be consistent, and be a podium threat week in, week out.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. And, like you said, he's got some more responsibilities now, so I don't know if that's going to affect him any way of his riding. Hopefully it can calm him down a little bit and he can be a lot more consistent. Like you see, he's always been one of the fast guys, so should be a good season.
That's right, the number 5 of Kirk Gibbs still out front on the Moto X KTM machine. Gibbs out front, followed by Luke Steik on a 151.198 for Gibbs and a 151.9, so still a full second faster than the guy in second place is Kirk Gibbs. Lawson Bopping in third on a 155. Then you've got Cade Mosig in fourth on a 156. So Gibbs and Steig are still running some seriously fast lap times, but Daniel Reardon on the move. Reardon is into the number 6 ride all the way back from 15th after being out front at the first lap. So you got Daniel Reardon in the number 6 ride, Cody Cooper in 5th, Monnier in 7th, Long drop back to the number 8 ride. Then you've got Ford Dale rounding out the number 9 ride, and Daniel McCoy, a guy we haven't mentioned much about, back to full-time racing in 2015, doing a private team on a blacked out Yamaha. Reardon has found a private investor. He's going racing, and he's a guy that we all know. Good start, solid day for Reardon. He's a podium threat in any ride.
Absolutely, Dan Reardon showed a lot of pace. The championship that he won in, I want to say 08, 09, he was unstoppable. Absolutely obliterated the entire field. Chad Reed actually came over that year, and he almost put it to Chad Reed at the Raymond Terrace round. So Dan Reardon, a guy, so much pace. He's got that CDR support. He obviously very well known around the pits, and when that opportunity came up with Craig Dack to ride the CDR, obviously he took it, and he's not turning back.
He's definitely making the most of this opportunity. Sometimes things happen for a reason, and with Jacob Wright, as we mentioned before, unfortunately getting injured, blowing out his knee a few weekends ago, training down in Victoria, left Cade Mosig sort of filling essentially the premier ride in that spot at the team, being the senior rider. Even though Reardon's back, I'd say Mosig has a lot more expectations on his shoulders than Dan Reardon does. So Mosig's a guy that a lot of people, including myself, have pinned hopes on to win races and ultimately be a contender for this title. So Mosig running now in the number 3 spot. He's got around Lawson Bopping, he's got around Cody Cooper. Solid ride for Mosig here in the first race of the year, taking the third. Awesome to see Mosig feeling comfortable and looking ready to do damage here in 2015. As we see behind him, Lawson Bopping on the DPH Motorsports Yamaha. So like we mentioned before, guys, you've got Mosig on the CDR ride, you've got Boppo on the privateer privateer DPH ride. A lot of pride on the line there in terms of Yamaha have invested a lot in infrastructure for supporting race teams in 2015. Oh, Mosig, big kick there, but he held on. As I said before, Yamaha investing a lot of money to go racing and support these race teams, so I'm sure they're happy either way, but Yamaha are also happy to see the official team out front with Mosig, then followed by the privateer. So there's a lot of, privateer team, sorry, of Lawson Bopping with the DPH team. So we go back to number 5, Moto X KTM, Kirk Gibbs. 25 minutes in, we've got 5 minutes plus a lap to go here in the opening, and Monster Energy MX1 Moto of the day. Gibbsy back on a 151, so these guys are still ticking over with Gibbs and Steig. KTM going 4 to 5 seconds a lap faster than anybody else in this field, and they're 1 and 2. Looking good for the Moto X KTM setup and the technicians and the crew. Rob Twyford there, obviously running a very tight ship, and it's showing here around 1.
Yeah, definitely. It's they've put the whole season in last year, and they had a good pre-season, and he looks awesome. He hasn't really made a step wrong yet, and he just looks comfortable, and he's just motoring. He's doing his own thing now, which is it's one of the best things for a racer is to get a lead like this and know that you're pulling away, you're dominating, you don't have to change anything. So you just get into a groove, and most times out of everything is you can just keep doing this. He could probably do this all day until the tank of fuel.
Absolutely, so solid on the bike is Kirk Gibbs. Brendan Harrison, you know him very, very well. Does he do mostly bike training, or is he a whole lot of off-the-bike training? He's basically the fittest guy in the pits that we do see week in, week out. How does Kirk's training regime come together?
He's just learnt so much over the years, and he just does everything right. So he mixes it up. He rides, but he trains off of the bike. He doesn't let himself get burnt out. When he thinks he's getting burnt out, he'll train more off the bike. But and always in the off season, he gets off the bike, and he gives KTM his bike so he doesn't have it because he doesn't want to ride, and he just wants to. By the time he gets his bike, he wants to ride the bike. So he's very smart. He's learnt so much over the years, and like Joe was saying before, he's not old, but he's a bit of a veteran of this class, and as you can see right now, he's putting everything he's learned into tuition, and he's making it happen.
He certainly is. Now that number 5 KTM KTM on a global scale, if we talk about that for a second, dominating Supercross in America right now. And Gibbsy getting a bit caught up there with the, I think that was 83 of Jaden Conforto going a lap down. So nobody's fault, just a few of the lap riders there. Sometimes it's difficult coming through as you're the leader coming through, the first guy putting riders a lap down. The back markers don't know you're coming until you go by, and then after that they're looking for the leaders. So Gibbsy pretty far out in front to the point where he doesn't need to worry too much about getting tied up. He can take his time, pick his lines, and just being super smooth right now. Not doing anything crazy. This Horsham circuit, like I said, immaculately prepared, but I think come the second 30-minute moto of the day for these guys, it's going to get pretty gnarly.
Yeah, and like you said as well, it can actually be a disadvantage, not so much for Kirk at this point in time, but being the first guy to come through the lap is because they don't really know you're coming. You know, they do get the blue flag, but they're also in a race condition themselves, so they're racing themselves. So Kirk can be the first one to come through. Once he goes past them, they know that there are going to be other people coming. So it can be a disadvantage, you know, if it was a heated battle. But you know, I think Kirk's got this race under control at the moment, so he doesn't have a great deal of pressure to have to make the pass straight away, like you're saying, Jeff. Yeah,
that's right. He has the definite track position to make that work, and looking pretty effortless in terms of you know, his riding technique here as he heads down the hill one more time. Now we're at the 29-minute and 15-second mark, so that means there's going to be 2 laps to go here in this first Monster Energy MX1 Moto of the day here in the 2015 MX National season. You are watching us live on nrgtv.com.au. Make sure to share this page with your friends on social media, with your family. If you're unable to make it to any of the rounds this year in your state, you are able to watch all the action live in the comfort of your own home and also on demand as we finally see the number 1 of Matt Moss.
He's actually, as we can see, looking at the timing here, he's gone back position, 2 positions now. No, yeah, positioned back in 13th now.
13th, so
Cale Makem, where he's missing, looks like he's missing the rear guard as well. Cale Makem looks like he's trying to make a pass on him. So
wow, so I'm not sure what happened to Mossy off camera, but if he's gone down again or if that's from the first incident that had him sit so far back, as we see, you know, a guy we haven't really talked about much so far today, Cale Makem, stepping up into the Monster Energy MX1 class from the Moto MX2 class as he is the teammate for Matt Moss. Shane Boyd, there's Boydie, there's Makem. Boydie moved into the number 12 ride, so he's moving his way towards the top 10. Like we said, I don't think Mossy or Boyd would be happy with the top, anything less than a top 10. I know Moss is going to be furious at the end of this ride. He's not a guy that likes to lose and certainly finish outside the of the top 3 guys week in and week out. Now, Mossy's worst finish last season, of course, was a 8th place, and that was the final moto at Coulomb.
Yeah.
So that was his championship ride. He had to finish that race. So this is very uncharacteristic of Matt Moss.
And as like, there must be something wrong. He's Cale Makem passed him probably not even half a lap ago, and the amount of gap they've already got already. So I'm hoping, you know, he's not re-hurt his shoulder or, you know, something silly. Hoping it's just a bit of a bike. His bike's not right. Yeah,
bike looks pretty bent up, even at the front end as well. That pipe's moving around there. So again, wish we had on camera what happened to Matt Moss, but he does not look like himself. As we see Shane Boyd in the number 12 ride, like I said, then you got Jesse Dobson and Daniel McCoy in front. So Moss, he's going to struggle here with 1 lap to go to really put any pressure on getting into that top 10. So Moss is definitely going to have to go back to the drawing board here for the start of the season. But it's got some mud on the helmet there. Not sure if that's from Roost or from a bit of a head slap there and a crash. But either way, that bike's looking pretty bent up.
And another thing also is, you know, Matt has always been so dominant in his career at the start of the season. You know, he's always come out and he's pretty much always left with the points lead or very close to it. And that's how he's won most of the championships. He's won the championships pretty much before he's got to the last round, and he's cruised it in. And I feel that's where Kirk Gibbs has lacked in the past couple of years.
Well, if you look at the results from last season, Matt Moss, Broadford first, round 2, Appen first. Round 3, Wonthaggi second. That's a solid start to the year.
Exactly, yeah.
Things went away a little bit at Murray Bridge when Kirk Gibbs took his first victory of the year on the overall at Murray Bridge, his hometown in South Australia. But again, round 5, Wanneroo second. Round 6, Swan Hill third. Round 7, Conondale second. Round 8, Raymond Terrace first. fifth and sixth in the last 2 rounds, but the damage was already done.
Exactly.
He dominated the first half of the season and then took the Moto wins and the overalls when they came. So like you said, Brendan, not someone who's used to dogging it out towards the last round or so. That comes from his dominance at the start of the year. So it's easy to get carried away with one bad moto. I'm sure that Mossy is going to be ready to go at Moto 2.
Yeah, exactly. He hasn't won, the amount of championships he's won for being silly and letting these little mistakes get to him. And having saying that, and last year in the past years, Kirk has been opposite. He's always not been, way off the pace or anything. He's a bit silly, but he's always had to come hard at the end of the season. And he's turning around this year, and it's going to be a good season.
Well, as we said, as we take a look at Kirk Gibbs on the last lap here, he's getting ready to take the number 1 ride in the Moto 1 Monster Energy first race of the year for the 2015 Monster Energy MX Nationals. 33.5 minutes in. This has been a long moto. Kirk Gibbs going for the horseshoe. He is stoked, and I know my co-commentator Brendan Harrison is too. Kirk Gibbs, Moto 1 victory here in the Monster Energy MX1 class. Coming to you live on NRG TV. Now Gibbs is just going to ride that one home and come around for an interview with Aiden Williams. And second place, Motor X KTM teammate to Gibbs, Luke Stike, first ride in the 450 class. 450 class rookie, 2013.
Standing with Cade Mozzie. First race to the championship. Started off in 3rd position. Got to be pretty happy.
Yeah, pretty happy. The track's it's really sketchy. It's actually quite slick underneath, so it's kind of just had to be patient and make sure I was doing smooth, clean laps. And got a bad start, locked bars with Kirk out the gate, but she was pretty wild around the first couple of laps. There was guys going down, and just wanted to get myself in a good position, and ended up climbing my way back to 3rd, which I'm happy with. The CDR Yamaha was working great, and looking forward to the next moto.
Definitely a solid moto to start things off. What will you do to go back to the drawing board now to try and come and give it to Kirk and Sykesy?
Definitely a start. I think, everyone's very, very similar in speed. So, start is what makes the difference, having clean track and fresh air. So, just going to go back, speak with the team and see what we can do to come out swinging in the next one.
Well, congratulations. Fantastic start to the season.
Thanks, mate.
We'll go now over to Luke Stike, 2nd place in the opening moto. Stikesy, we've seen you come back from Europe, mate, and you've put yourself up on the podium in the first moto of the championship's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like all the pre-season over in New Zealand and the team's working hard, and I just got to give it up to the team and Mechanic Jordan. We got the bike like a rocket ship. That was the first whole shot of the year, and I'd just like to big shout out to them, and let's regroup and try to get a podium spot for the next one.
Well, a fantastic ride in that first one. You held yourself very, very well. How's the track holding up out there?
Yeah, it's super gnarly, There's it looks a lot grippier than it actually is, but underneath it's pretty slick. But we just got to go back and regroup and maybe make a few changes to the bike. But everything's looking good so far.
Well, fantastic start to the season. Congratulations.
Thanks. Thank you.
We'll go over now to Kirk Gibbs, the race winner of the first moto of the MX1. Gibbs, you've got to be feeling pretty pumped on that.
Yeah, really happy with that. Got a great start, and it shows. Normally, I struggled a little bit last year with starts, and I've been working hard on it. So. It pays off. It was good to have a nice clean race and ride my own laps.
As you said, not really known as a starter. How is it to go 30 minutes sort of out the front there?
Yeah, something different for me. Normally coming from the back. So it's good to get some fresh air early, and especially the first race of the year. You sort of pump up and normally ride a little bit too intense. So I felt good then, and hopefully go back and just repeat it second moto.
So what will you do going back to the truck? Between the motos, anything you'll change?
No, I'm pretty happy with everything at the moment. Just got to concentrate on that start again, and hopefully get out front with these boys and put on a good show.
Well, congratulations. Currently, you're the championship leader.